What's going on, guys? Briar Rabbit here. Today, we're going to be upgrading a Sega Dreamcast console. This is my favorite console of all time. This is actually the one I bought on launch day in 1999. But we're going to be doing a few upgrades to this. And the beauty of these upgrades is they can all be done with just an itsy-bitsy little screwdriver. I mean, your average size. Today we're going to be installing 3 different upgrades to the Dreamcast. One is to install the M.O.D.E. This is a multi-optical disc emulator. What it allows you to do is install a hard drive or a flash drive or a USB stick or whatever you have basically into your Dreamcast or Saturn or PlayStation and play backed up game files. So this is a really useful thing. The Dreamcast library obviously is very expensive at this point. And this M.O.D.E. actually, it comes in handy. It's very easy to install on a Saturn or a Dreamcast. And also with a little bit more work and some soldering, you can also install it into a PlayStation. But for our purposes, all we need today is a screwdriver to install it into a Dreamcast. I also went ahead and got a bracket from Laser Bear Industries. I'll put a link in the description below, and you'll see how nicely that turned out as well. It's a 3D printed bracket for the M.O.D.E. While I was at Laser Bear Industries, I also picked up a new fan for the Dreamcast. One of the weird things about the Dreamcast is how loud it is. It's got this really small fan in it that spins at extremely high RPMs. It's extraordinarily loud. So today we picked up a Noctua fan and a small bracket 3D printed from Laser Bear Industries to quiet down the Dreamcast, and it works extremely well. It's not silent, but it's much quieter than the original Dreamcast fan. We're also going to be upgrading the output of the Dreamcast to make it look good on modern televisions, and the easiest way to do that is with this guy. This is the Beharbros Toro. I don't know if it's a box or a dongle, but essentially what it does is it takes the high quality 480p output from the Dreamcast and gives us a SCART out, so we can plug it into something like an OSSC, a RetroTink product, something like that, get it converted over to HDMI and get some really crisp video out of this. There are ways to get actual HDMI video directly out of that, but that requires modding, soldering. We're not about that today. Today, we're using our itty-bitty screwdriver, and that's it for all these mods, so let's get to work. Disassembly of the Dreamcast is a breeze. There's 4 screws on the bottom of the unit. Just unscrew those, pull the unit top straight off. Same goes with the disk drive. There's 4 screws, then pull it straight up. The connector is right on the bottom of the disk drive. You just pull it straight up to get it out and push the M.O.D.E. directly down to get it in there. This is the bracket from Laser Bear Industries. One thing to note about this, if you are using a hard drive, you have to disassemble the bracket to get to the hard drive, so make sure you load anything onto that hard drive that you want. The bracket does come with a SD card extender that you can get to by just popping the top of the Dreamcast, so that makes it much easier to get new files onto the unit. I got the bracket pre-built from Laser Bear Industries, and that's a free option. I decided, well, it's free, I might as well get it pre-built. One thing to note about it is the screws go in there pretty tight. It's pretty self-explanatory, so if you don't get the pre-built one, it's not very difficult to figure out at all. But be careful with it. It is 3D printed plastic. You don't want to crack it. You don't want to flex it much at all. Getting the screws in and out of there, you can see I kind of had to torque it quite a bit with this very small, tiny screwdriver that I'm using. But installation was pretty straightforward. Once the bracket was taken apart, I simply put the M.O.D.E. into the bracket. I probably had to figure this out, exactly how to line it up. But it's pretty self-explanatory. You just line up the 4 screws. They go through the bracket and through the M.O.D.E. And set it up pretty nicely. Once the M.O.D.E is inserted inside the bracket, just place the bracket down into the Dreamcast. Make sure to line up the electrical connectors between the M.O.D.E and the Dreamcast unit itself, and you just press down firmly. You'll feel it kind of click in place. You'll know that it's in because it just stops moving down. It's very, very low insertion force. And then just put the 4 screws into the bracket, and you're done. Now we're going to replace the fan. You can see that I've got this Laser Bear Industries fan bracket. Because the Noctua fan is so much bigger, you do need this bracket, but I think it was around $10 or so. I went with orange just because of the Dreamcast orange theme. You can get these in all sorts of colors. One note, I would recommend if you are installing a M.O.D.E to install the M.O.D E, screw down all 4 screws on the M.O.D E before you install the fan. I made this mistake and I actually had to take the fan back out to screw in the mount for the M.O.D E itself. But for the purposes of this video, it doesn't make much difference. This is pretty easy to do. The biggest hurdle I ran into was just kind of cable routing the fan cable itself. I just wanted a place that it would stay out of the way, it wouldn't block airflow, and it also wouldn't impede the opening and the closing of the Dreamcast's lid. I was able to do that by kind of putting it behind the fan toward the rear of the Dreamcast itself. Finally, once you've got the Dreamcast all put back together, we're going to plug in the Toro box. The Toro box is a cool little device that takes the 480p VGA that the Dreamcast is capable of outputting and converts it into an analog signal via SCART. With that SCART connection, you can go to an OSSC or a RetroTink to get awesome HDMI quality video. Let's take a look at some of that video now. That's going to wrap this one up, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like button if you liked the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. I mean, it's not how big the screwdriver is. It's how you screw.